Hello, Ted Wood here. Going to talk today about sales training the way it should be. This will be a TED style talk, socially distant of course, in keeping with the COVID world that we live in. I'm going to talk just briefly about this lady here. I happened to see her on the internet. She was doing a TEDx talk on the economy of generosity. She started her talk off by mentioning that when she went to college, the professors were talking about the purpose of the company is to bring money in for its shareholders. Didn't say anything at all about, offering something to the customer. And she kind of took exception to that. You got to love a woman like that, even if she is beautiful. All right. Let's talk about your biggest deal ever. So listen up, 007. Sales training should actually include the following. Number one, should teach us how to read the prospect so we appeal to them. Teach us how to listen, not just tell us we should listen. Teach us what we should say. Teach us how to say what we say, and of course, give everyone a chance to practice. It's the only way it'll work. You got to practice this, otherwise it's got to get embedded in you to where, like when a basketball player sees somebody and he knows it's time to take a move to the left or to the right or whatever. It's not thinking about that. It's just ingrained in him or her. Same for you. All right. First, we'll start with teach us how to read the prospect so we appeal to them. All right. Behavioral selling. Read the buyer, write the order. I put together 4 pictures of different kinds of dogs here that represent the different kinds of behaviors that you run into. They're basically only 4 behaviors. We could talk for hours about that, but we won't. The first is the dominant car buyer. You're talking with this person. It's pretty obvious right off the give-go. They come right in, tell you what they want. They're very high-strung. You got some keys, they're jiggling. Pen, they're clicking it. So they kind of tip off what they're doing that way, but as well as their voice. They're, as in their conversation, they're as blunt as the front of a city bus. I really need a truck, at least 3/4 ton, and I've got to have room in the back for my family. Okay, they told you what they wanted. All right, so now it's no fritzing around. Okay, this guy, or gal as the case may be, the influencer buyer. This is the most dominant behavior out there. This person is more interested in people than they are in the statistics and that sort of thing. They're very status oriented. They would like to have a better car than their friends. They've got those big sparkly eyes that'll give them away, whereas the dominant buyer has those eyes, that glare of power in their eyes. This influencer buyer has those sparkly eyes. They're very big. Actually, many times those eyes are bigger than their wallet. Next is the steady buyer. I call this person the agreeable disagreeer. They look you right in the eye as you're talking, and it's almost like they're hanging on your every word. You think you got them, and then at the end, so I wasn't going to buy that. The compliant buyer. This, I like to refer to them as the spreadsheet mentality. They are very analytical, analyze everything. And they, if you took them all the analytical, compliant buyers, and you laid them all end to end, I'm not sure. Would they reach New York? Would they reach the moon? I can tell you this. They never reach a decision. There's the problem, all right? So Next, we'll talk about, how to listen, not just that we need to listen, but how do we listen? All right. Well, it is time to listen. And they all say we should listen more and talk less. But how do we do that? Well, there is an incentive for us to listen. Here it is. And incentives can motivate. The rule says that top salespeople speak 30% of the time and listen 70% of the time. And it even goes on from there. The less you speak, the more you make. I don't know how much more incentive to give you than that. But incentives are great. But how about some techniques, To start, effort to let them talk. At least make an effort to let them talk. Ask any questions leading to a sale. No problem there. Do you get to talk? Yes. But here's what you get to say. You only get to say certain things. Here it is. Here they are. What do I get to say? Here's your moves. Wow. Interesting. Incredible. And phew, ouch. Gee whiz. I'm confused. And then your questions, of course. Well, can you tell me more? How's that working for you? And no, please, no negative reverses, okay? It's pretty simple, the and the incredible and the wow and stuff like that. And there's more. You could put them in, it comes natural to you. But I like the I'm confused. Because sometimes as hard as I'm trying to listen, I'm not getting it. I missed something. I wasn't listening as close as I should when I'm supposed to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, you would never have that problem, but I did. And so what I'll do is say, I'm still confused. Would you just go over that one more time real quick? That kind of thing. Okay. And we'll get into the 20-minute-old Lamborghini. All right. And I'm going to tell you about a sale I missed. I'd been in the business for a while, and I had some success, and a lot of people that I had trained had gone on to increase their sales, some very dramatically. And one of probably the top sales guy where he went from where I had trained him, went to another company. And it was a big dealership. It was a Chevy dealership, one of the biggest dealerships in the valley. And he got me an audience with the general manager. Now, keep in mind, this is his top sales guy recommending me. And I go in there, and this general manager starts telling me about, oh my gosh, my salespeople they really are hurting. They're not getting the sales. They're not doing things right. And he just goes on and on and on. And instead of nodding my head up and down like I should have, I decided to throw out a negative reverse. I said, no, to be funny, no, not your salespeople. And he looked at me and he says, you're kind of a smart ass, aren't you? Well, make a long story short, I never got that sale. I worked at it, but I never got it. I mean, that was so stupid. And yet, I've seen so many of your top salespeople get, in fact, one of the top leading companies out there on training, sales training, has a whole book on negative reverses, for God's sakes. I mean, incredible. All right. The only two questions you may ever need are, well, can you tell me more? And how's that working for you? All right. Now, you could say, geez, Ted, that's not the King's English right there. That's not the way you would say that. Well, you try it with the King's English, or you try it that way and see which works better for you. Now, you don't want to say it like you're the 60 IQ. You want to, how's that working for you? You just kind of throw it out there smooth, let it all, da-da-da-da-da. That's very non-threatening, the way you say it like that. And so it gets my seal of approval for better results, all right? Next is, how do we say what we say? Well, back to that 20-minute-old Lamborghini. First, learn what to say. and then try to speak as you're spoken to. Same pace as the person you're speaking to, same tonality as the person you're speaking to. You can even mimic the accents. I've never had somebody do it, myself included, that got smacked around about it. It's appreciated. It's okay to imitate the way other people speak. Okay. The biggest deal ever. I'm going to share with you how I closed my biggest sale. I promised myself I would shut up and listen, but I'd done that many times before. I'm going to shut up and listen, and didn't shut up and listen, but talked too much. That I would ask questions. After listening and listening and listening, I asked, what is your budget for sales trading? Now keep in mind, I'm talking the vice president of one of the largest car dealerships in the country. They had dealerships on every brand on the planet all over the western half of the United States. So I asked him, what's your budget for sales training? His answer was 6% of the gross on all add-ons, but we never spend it. I immediately doubled my price in my mind. Then I asked, who all have you worked with? He says, oh, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Grant Cardone. Every time he mentioned another celebrity, I sunk another couple inches in my chair. But I tried to stay cool and maintain my cool, so I asked him next. I says, trying to have as much courage as I possibly could. I said, well, what would it take for me to work with you? To which he says to me, well, who would you like to work with? A dealership that's doing real well and making a lot of money? Sales are good? Or someone who's really hurting? And I says, I could probably show you more if you had me work with one of your dealerships that's just not doing very well at all. It's okay. So he calls up his worst dealership, happened to be a Subaru dealership. They had just spent over $1 million putting in a new showroom and everything, really nice, beautiful place, but it wasn't getting done over there. And so keep in mind, okay, he calls up, he talks to the general manager, guy by the name of Fergie. And he says, Fergie, Ted, I got a guy here by the name of Ted, does sales training. Any possibility you could chat with him? And so set up a time. I go over there and I end up talking. Can you imagine though? I mean, it's a hanging curveball. The boss just tells the guy who's not making his numbers that he's got a guy coming over here to talk about sales training. Well, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Make a long story short, and I could make it a very long story, I did get that sale. And it got me started. I say it was the biggest sale ever because we did so well that I had the biggest month they'd ever had on the end of my training. So they hired me again in the spring to come back and both help them get some new salespeople and then do another round of training. And closed with at the end of that was the only time they ever made money was at the end of that. And so that kind of kicked off my getting into that dealership, which was, the boppers in town was Larry Miller. They were the boppers in Salt Lake. And so after that, I was able to get in with a lot of other dealerships. So it worked out very, very well for me. And it was all because I learned to keep my mouth shut, other than to say, wow, golly, that's incredible, stuff like that. And so I did that, and it worked out very well. I hope this was helpful to you. The bottom line is, let your voice be heard. If you like what we did here, click like. If you don't, click don't like. Just tell you a little bit about myself. I've written a lot of training manuals on sales, and do quite a bit. Also, I've written a lot of articles on real estate investing, for what that's worth. I am a certified life coach. I'm a certified professional behavior analyst. I've been living by my wits pretty much since I was, I guess, around in my mid-30s, except for a 4.5-year stint working for a company doing real estate investment coaching. So other than that, that's where we are. That's who I am. This is how you can reach me. God bless you. Appreciate you taking the time to be here. Adios.